Catching up here, I've got the front axle all assembled and everything with the new steering rods up in the front. They look real nice, but the hubs are all together, and haven't put hypoid in them yet. I'm getting ready to drain both the front and rear axle, but put a new brake drum on the front. I got my cheater pipe that lets me have my bleeder up at the top here on this 109 front end. Bleeder over here too, there it is. So the front's basically ready to go. I repacked the front hubs, new seals, all that kind of stuff. The bearings seem to be in really good shape. I have no idea what the age or history of this axle is. So I'm kind of waiting to see what drains out of these things. So I'm gonna head onto the back of the car right now. The rear axle hubs, I had replaced these brakes and master cylinders years ago, before this project went into a coma, and had new brake shoes on here, and these rear hubs, the leaked grease down onto the bottom of the brake drum, and then when I started rolling it around, it wiped that grease around the brake shoes. So I'm gonna have to replace them eventually, but for right now, for our purposes, I've cleaned them up. They look pretty good. I'm gonna leave them on there. What I'm getting ready to do is pull the axles and the hubs and put new seals in them. And also I'm going to drain the I forgot to tell you that I took the master cylinders out, and they were kind of frozen up even though they were new when I put them in. Getting ready to clean them up and hone them and then put them back in, and I've got all new brake lines to go across here. Yeah, I know it's rusty. Here's an example of that grease that wiped on the brake shoes when I rolled it around the lot here. Got this wheel cylinder out as well. I'm also in the process of removing mud that's caked up in here. That's really old mud. So I just cut the existing brake lines. I'm gonna just grind them off up here as well, replace the hose and the line up to the front. So that's what we're getting ready to do now. To say I'm shocked would be an understatement. When I pulled the drain plug on the rear differential, about a gallon of water came out. I don't know if it's a gallon, maybe it's a half gallon. And a little bit of gear oil sitting on top of it. How does it get that much water in it? I can understand some condensation, but now it's just dripping the remaining sludge out of there. And I don't know, that probably means this differential's shot, but I'll have to get it apart and see what it looks like inside. I'm not a differential guy. I guess I'm gonna become one. I've been working on miscellaneous stuff on the car, fasteners on the instrument panel, getting the oil pressure gauge plumbed with the copper line, and some other stuff under the hood, diagnosing some electrical bugaboos and that sort of thing. And I've got it up on the lift right now, and I'm proceeding with my original plan was to put rear brake shoes on, and then I realized I need to go ahead and fix these hubs. And when I pulled this axle out, water poured out of the hub, which was no surprise. We saw in an earlier video that the differential was full of water. which is going to create a project for me later on. But I went ahead and got a kit of the necessary parts to rebuild both rear hubs. Looks like it's got everything in it: gaskets, seals, lock washers. So I'm going to proceed with pulling this apart, and when I've got the hub off, I'm going to go ahead and put the new brake shoes on and proceed from there. Here's the hub with the new bearing races knocked into place. It looks pretty good. Everything's fine, I think. There was some rust inside the hub, but no big deal. It cleaned up pretty well. There's the new cones, along with the other parts that are going to go in there with it. So, turned out I don't have any bearing grease, so we put some on order, and it should get here soon, next hour or so, and I'll be back in business.